During the last sitting of the House of Commons, the Reform Bill was passed. The Reform Bill was to reform the House of Commons Act and the Elections Act to return to the caucus and to the political parties the power that had been taken from them in 1970 when our present Prime Minister's father was Prime Minister, had taken from the House of Commons and from the party the decision on who could run as members of Parliament. They could decide and approve or disapprove, as we've seen several times in this last election, members who were selected by the people to run to represent the parties. So it was also interesting that the present Prime Minister, during the campaign, had said that he was aware that his father had decreased our representative democracy by having too much power vested in the Prime Minister's office. And it was the intention of this candidate for Prime Minister to change that back again. But then we have the first meeting of the caucus. And those politicians who had passed this bill also passed the provision that the first meeting of caucus of each party would decide if they were going to adopt the terms of the Reform Act. And the first meeting of the Liberal caucus decided not to do that. They decided that the House members of the caucus, the members of the House of Commons for that party, decided, no, we won't take the responsibility and the power given to us by the people who elected us. We're going to leave that with the leader of our party. And I guess that would mean that it would also be left to those people who might influence the leader of their party, the bankers or the foreign bankers or the big international corporations or whoever might have some influence on a prime minister or on the members of his office. And so at the first meeting of caucus, this prime minister presumably influenced his caucus, because I can't imagine my member of parliament just giving away the powers that we had given him. And so if he said that he was going to do these things during the election, and then immediately after, within hours, he has his caucus vote against adopting them, would this possibly be considered a deceitful, dishonest, brazen use of his power and influence over his caucus? I'm just very concerned now, if this is the way he starts his term as Prime Minister, how much worse can it get? How much more power is he going to assume into the Prime Minister's office? How much more power will he take from the members of his caucus and from the other members of the House of Commons? I'm telling you, this is a serious matter. We've had 45 years when our representative democracy has been shrinking, and the bankers and the international corporations have been taking away the freedoms of Canada, taking the wealth and pushing it all, giving it all to that top 1% and 10% and 20% of the population. We've got to watch these guys. We've got to make sure that they don't do those things. You keep this in mind, please.